Hi, and welcome to the Comic Shop Show. I'm your host, Chris Brenneman, owner of Atlanta, Georgia's Infinite Realities, comics, games, and more. Now, before we get to this week's guest, June Brigman, I want to take a minute to thank everyone who has already downloaded and listened to our first 2 episodes. When we launched, there was a hope that at least a few folks would give us a shot, but wow, the number of people who took a chance on the Comic Shop Show was really something. Not only that, but we've gotten a lot of positive responses, so that goes a long way towards making us feel like we're doing something right. Anywho, let's talk about this week's guest. June Brigman is probably the most wonderful person working in comics. She's probably the most wonderful person, period. I first met her on the opening day for Infinite Realities back in 2018. She lives not too far from the shop, and she came out on a very cold, very rainy day to see the store's ribbon cutting. I didn't know her at this point, but of course I did know of her. June is a comics legend. If you know comics, you know June. She's a co-creator of Marvel's Power Pack. She's worked on X-Men, X-Factor, Conan the Barbarian, Supergirl, Star Wars. That's just to name a few. When she introduced herself to me on opening day, I was immediately taken aback by how genuine of a person she was. And is. June is this warm and funny and kind and just awesome person who makes anyone and everyone she's talking to feel like she really cares, you know? She's one of those people. So getting to sit down with her for an hour and just talk about her work, and her journey, that was something pretty special to me. Like I said, I'm a huge June Brigman fan, both the artist and the person. But you know what? Enough about me rambling. How about this? Let's get right to it. Folks, without further ado, June Brigman. What have you been up to lately?
Just, drawing pictures, feeding cats, drawing lots of pictures. Went to New York Comic Con.
How was that for you guys?
It was just me.
Oh, you
Roy
went?
stayed home.
No Roy.
I went solo.
What was that like? Did you party?
No, I did not. I was so freaking exhausted. No, it was intense. It was probably the most intense con I've done. There was San Diego. And it just kind of, most conventions, like by Sunday, they'll start to slow down and you can hang out and visit. I was going to have lunch with a friend who was coming to the show. No, it just kept building and building until by Sunday you could not move. And I was so busy I could not leave the table. And then when I did want to leave the table, I couldn't go anywhere because you could not move.
Because it was so packed.
It was like spam in a can there. It was crazy.
So you had a lot of people lined up to see you at New York? That's exciting.
Well, I did a lot of commissions. Commissions, which is fine. I like to be busy. And I did sign a lot of books and met a lot of, really nice fans, very appreciative fans. So that was cool. But yeah, I'm glad I did it. But unless they make a movie out of Power Pack and fly me up there and put me up in a really ritzy hotel, I probably won't do it again.
I get that. Is that the big commission people ask for, Power Pack?
Actually, oddly enough, no.
Really?
I mean, I'll do
I didn't either. I got a
but-
Magneto from you.
Yeah, and I get a lot. I'm mostly like female characters, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm. It's easier for me, but not oddly enough, not a lot of Power Pack stuff.
Okay. What characters are trending right now with the commission queue?
Poison Ivy, some Scarlet Witch. What else did I do while I was there? I should be able to think of this, but it's all kind of a blur now. Who did I do? Oh, I did. Oh God, I'm so old. This is a brain fart moment. Elvira.
Oh yeah,
Elvira, which was fun.
Yeah, because she announced that she's retiring the character this year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what brought that on.
I wonder. Yeah.
But it's fun because I get to draw stuff I wouldn't normally get to draw.
Does that excite you with commissions? If
yeah. It makes it. It's really fun. It's not Mary Worth. So.
How long have you been on Mary Worth now?
Since 2016. This will be coming up on 10 years.
And this is your second comic strip, correct?
Right. The first one was Brenda Starr,
Mm-hmm.
reporter, which we did for 15 years.
How did you get into comic strip work?
Just kind of luck and timing. We started on Brenda Starr in 1995, and it was very good timing because this was when the comic book industry was starting to implode.
Yeah.
And we were starting to see the writing on the wall.
You guys, yeah.
There was we had done a Star Wars series, and I was expecting to make some nice big fat royalty checks, and they're just
It was
weren't any.
that was River of Chaos, right?
Yeah. There weren't any.
For Star Wars.
Yeah, and
Well, yeah, because I guess that's pre-prequels. That was still kind of like the Star Wars.
But it had been doing. I knew other people who had done Star Wars miniseries that had done very well, and then it just started. Everything, books were being canceled, people were being laid off, and it was about that time that I got a call, not an email, this was before email. I got a call from Larry Hama, G.I. Joe guy, editor at Marvel, and he said, "Hey, I heard that Ramona Fradon is retiring from the Brenda Starr comic strip." And Ramona had been drawing the strip for 15 years, I believe. Also, at that point, she had been out for like 15 years, and she was retiring. And I was like, I'm gonna give it a try. So I somehow figured out who to contact at the syndicate that owned it. Got in touch with them. I did a sample week.
Okay.
And sent it in, and they hired me. So
You crushed it.
I don't know if I crushed it, or honestly, they didn't know where to look.
Oh.
They didn't know of they didn't know comic books. That was like, I don't know, the poor relation that lives in a trailer park or something. They really had no idea what was going on in comic books. These were two separate worlds, and they were just kind of like looking for people who worked in their bullpen. They had no idea the talent that was available. Although at that time, when we first got it, we were talking to some artists who were still doing just fine working for Marvel, and we told them how much we were getting paid, and they laughed.
Really?
About a year later, they were asking us how they could get something like that.
Hey, can I get some of that comic strip money?
Yeah. Small as it was a regular paycheck.
So what's the big difference transitioning from comic books to comic strips?
The format.
Yeah.
Comic strips, the format is very limited. It is set in stone. It is horizontal. You can kind of divide up the horizontal tiers into different shapes, although the Sunday page always has to be split in the middle of the tier. You just don't have as much freedom with your page layouts. Whereas a comic book, you got 11 by 17 boards, 10 by 15 live area, and you can divide that any way you want as long as it serves the story and is clear. And also, it's just the comic strip, like I do, the continuity strips is kind of like a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
But it's very repetitive. The story sort of advances on the Sunday, and the dailies, the Monday through Saturday strips, just sort of, kind of build on what happened in the Sunday a little bit. So it's very repetitive.
Gotcha.
That way. It's fine. Sometimes it's fun.
Sure.
I like doing the Sunday pages, but sometimes it's just like, ugh. I have to. It's 6 ways to draw the same scene,
Right.
basically. So it's its own set of challenges.
How long does it take you to draw one strip?
One daily. Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, the dailies I can draw a week's worth in 3 days.
Oh.
Yeah, so
That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's not hard. It's not hard. And luckily, my husband Roy Richardson does the finishing stuff. He does the inking. He inks it traditionally, and he does the lettering, which he does not do traditionally. He does that
Oh,
digitally.
he's gone digital?
For the lettering, yeah. Neither of us ever learned how to do hand lettering.
Okay.
So,
That seems tedious. Hand
uh,
lettering.
yeah, I don't, I admire it, but never really wanted
Yeah.
to do it. And then he colors the Sunday page.
So I
So,
know you guys both work from home. Are you in the same room doing
oh
this, or do
no,
you?
oh no, no, we're not that close. We did that when we were first living in New York. We worked in the same room, but no, actually, I'm upstairs, he's downstairs. We kind of cross paths during the day, grunt at each other,
That's
go
probably
back to
good for
work.
the marriage.
Well, he knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
and I know what I'm doing, so we just leave each other alone. I like to listen to podcasts. He likes to listen to dinosaur rock on the radio, so it works out.
How long have you guys been a professional duo now?
Uh, the first 10 years we didn't work together. We worked separately.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky to have, like on Power Pack, I worked with Bob Wycheck was my inker. I was really fortunate to get him. And Roy inked on a lot. He was inking over a lot of different artists on different books. He had a good run on The Flash. But we didn't actually start working together until I think we did like a little backup story in the New Mutants that he inked. And then the Star Wars River of Chaos series, he inked that. But for, I would say, like the first 10 years, no. And then we started working on Brenda Starr, worked together. And since then, we've worked together. He's the only inker on my work. I think editors like to have that like one-stop shopping. So that's been like 30 years.
That's a nice run.
Yeah, it is.
What was your first paying gig in comics? Because I know
Yeah.
you did sketch art at Six Flags.
Yeah, I did pastel portraits at Six Flags one summer, and did like over 600 of those things.
That's
But
bonkers.
yeah, I learned a lot though. I didn't make very much money. I think the artist got like $1.50 a portrait.
And how much was a portrait back then?
I can't remember because the vendor, the part got their cut, the vendor got their cut, and the artist got a cut. And by the time it got to the artist, it was $1.50.
So business as
So,
usual for
but
the
I was
artist.
a teen. I was like 16, so
Yeah, it's better than flipping burgers.
Right.
You're doing
right.
art.
Yeah, yeah. The first paying comic book work I did was for a small company in Florida called Americomics, owned by a guy named Bill Black. And there were several artists who started with him. I know Jerry Ordway, I believe, started at Americomics.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that gave me, a sample to show of something I'd done that was actually in print.
What kind of story was it? Was it
It
a
was like a
superhero?
superhero. Yeah,
Okay.
superhero type story. I can't remember the character's name. Had no idea what I was doing. But, just
But it worked, whatever you were doing.
trying to figure it out. Then I got a job. DC Comics had a book called the DC New Talent Book, which of course people call the DC No Talent Book.
Oh no.
But it was a way for artists who had not been published and were trying to get started to get their work out there. And I got a little job in that. So then the guy who wrote the job I had done, a guy named Steve Ringenberg, was working in the Marvel office. I can't remember if he was an assistant editor or if it was a secretarial position, but he said, "Hey, I live in New York, and if you want to come up to New York, you can stay with me, and I'll get you in the office." And he did. We stayed in his tenement apartment. It was like almost across the street from CBGB's. It was a horrible neighborhood.
Had you been to New York before? Was that your first
No,
time?
this was our first time. It was in March. There was a garbage strike. I was like, what are these black piles everywhere? And it was like
no.
black snow-covered garbage, and there were hookers out on the street corner.
Yeah, because this
and-
is old gritty New
and-
York.
Yeah, this area had not been
Yeah.
gentrified. Now it was pretty. It was a culture shock for a kid from Norcross.
Yeah, I
Georgia.
imagine it was.
But he did get us in The office, and that was when, if you knew somebody in the office, you would go in at the front desk, you would sign your name and go in. And we walked around to the editors' doors and knocked on them, showed our portfolios, and Larry Hama gave me a little tiny backup story in Savage Sword of Conan, of all things. But that was when I met Louise Simonson. And
She's an editor at that
she was
point.
an editor at that point. And she said, I don't have any work for you at this time, but, hey, by the way, do you know how to draw children? And I was like, yeah, I did kind of know how to draw children. Because, like, at Six Flags, everybody wanted their kid done.
Sure.
Every parent would tell their child to sit there and smile. And I'd be like, no, don't smile. You can't hold a smile for 5 minutes.
Don't do that.
But just look nice. And so I did kind of know something about drawing children. I knew it was very different from drawing adults and different proportions. And so, she told me about the idea for Power Pack.
Oh, during that visit she did?
Yeah. And I may have edited this in my mind since then because it was a long time ago. But what I remember is I went back to the place where we were staying and I think that was when I did the very first sketch of the 4 kids.
Oh, that day.
Yeah.
That's fast. So she gave you a description of each of the kids?
She just said their siblings and their ages, 2 boys and 2 girls. And I can't remember if she had talked about the powers yet. I just did 4 drawings of 4 little kids. The right, 2 sisters, 2 brothers that looked about the right age. I didn't do their costumes or anything. I think I drew them in like little bathing suits. And took that in and showed it to her, and she liked it. And I think that then, I don't remember when I came up with the costumes. I think that was after we went back to Atlanta. I must have come up with the costumes and sent them in.
Oh, so you did you not move to New York full time?
Not yet.
Okay.
But then, she presented the idea to editor-in-chief Jim Shooter, and I believe when Wheezy tells the story, she says that this time Shooter wanted the editors to start doing some writing so they would kind of know what it was like, on the other side, the more creative side. Not that editors aren't creative. They're very creative. And Wheezy didn't want to take over somebody's book that was already writing, so she wanted to come up with her own. And so Shooter approved it. And then, it was once that started, and I think Roy had some work, we decided to move from Brookhaven, where we were living, to Westchester County, one of the most expensive places in the country to live. But on our first visit, we had met Paul Smith, who was drawing the X-Men at that time.
Okay.
And we had visited him. He lived in White Plains, which is like about 30 miles north of the city. And he was renting the top floor of a house. And we got out there, and I was like, well, now this I could do, because it was suburbs. And I just couldn't see moving to the city, because we couldn't afford anything. But Paul said, you can come and stay here. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, the top floor of this house, until you find something. So we did. We moved in with Paul Smith for probably about 2 months before we found our own place.
That's very kind of him.
It was. It was extremely generous. I'm trying to remember if we even paid anything. We must have paid him something. I hope we did. He was doing the X-Men at that time. And then we actually ended up, he was going to move to California. And so he gave our landlord notice. And he was going to move, and we were going to take over his apartment. And then he changed his mind. And we were like, Paul, we're coming back. Sorry. So we ended up moving back in with him. I can't remember how long. It was like a couple of months, and then he did finally move
He pulled
back
the
to
trigger on
California.
it.
Yeah, right. He had a girl there that he wanted to move back for. It was all very romantic.
Oh.
So, and then we stayed in that apartment there for like 25 years.
That long?
Yes, that long.
And it started out just as crashing with Paul Smith.
It did. We knew we planned on staying there. I don't think we planned on 25 years, but that's just how it worked out.
What are Marvel offices like at that point?
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was great. It
Yeah?
was very welcoming. It was very warm. It was very open. I mean, like I said, you could go in there and just walk around and hang out and knock on editors' doors and talk with the guys in the bullpen and see what they were doing and see what was being published and look at original art. I mean, we walked into Carl Potts' office one day and there sat this kind of nerdy-looking guy in the corner, and it was Steve Ditko.
Ha! Do you have a good Ditko story?
No, I don't. Carl Potts has a great Ditko story. At the time, I didn't quite appreciate. I was still very new to comics. Now, I didn't
Okay.
read comics as a kid. I knew he created Spider-Man, but it wasn't like the holy of holies to me. Now, if that happened to me now, I'd just be, I'd be, I wouldn't know what I'd be. It would be
At the
stunning.
time, it's just,
But
hey,
at the
there's that
time, I was
weird
like,
dude.
oh yeah, there's that guy, and I was just. Roy was different. I think with Roy, it was like, it was a religious experience. He told Carl that he had done a complete Doctor Strange story that had never been published, and Carl was he was begging him to let him publish it. And Ditko's just like, oh no, that's all. I'm done with that. That's all in the past.
Odd duck.
And who knows where it is.
So Power Pack, it ran for a while.
Yeah, I really wasn't on it for very long, and there were a lot of fill-ins. I really got thrown into the deep end on that. I went from maybe drawing a couple of backup stories to the first issue was a 48-page comic book, and then it was a monthly 22 pages, and I didn't have a degree in sequential art from SCAD. I hadn't read comic books as a kid. I didn't look at a comic book until I met Roy, and that was like I was 17, 18 years old.
So how did that work if you didn't grow up on it? So you met Roy and Roy got you into comics?
Yeah,
or?
he did. He got me into comics. He had a big collection. He was interested in working in comics. I didn't even know how to read a comic book. He had to show me how you read left, right, and down. And he took me to a convention. I think it was like early, like Atlanta Fantasy Fair, and there were a bunch of comic book artists there. And I was an art major. By that time, I was an art major at University of Georgia.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to be a working artist. And I'd always loved drawing. And I was starting to appreciate comics. And I saw these artists there that were, doing commissions. And they were incredible. One of them was Gil Kane. And I think I spent most of the day just watching him draw. I didn't know you could draw like that without reference or without a model, a photo or something in front of you. He's doing these gorgeous anatomically correct, dynamic drawings right there on the spot. And that's what really,
Like a
lit the
spark got
fire.
lit, yeah.
We met Bob McLeod, who probably helped me more than anybody. I would send him in samples and he would just ream me out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was great. Because it was constructive criticism.
I was gonna say, at least
Very
constructive, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. And then he actually started. At first, it was free, and then he started charging me, and I was happy to pay. It wasn't much, but then later, I think it was when I had started teaching. He told me that he started charging me because he was trying to get rid of me.
Oh, that's
That he
amazing.
didn't think I would make it.
But then
And then I'm like,
money started showing up.
yeah, he's like, I guess I can keep helping her. So, but he didn't think I would make it. But as he said, you're just so damn stubborn. So, yeah. Once I got into working for Marvel and was doing Power Pack, I had to figure it out. And I did. If you look from the first issue of Power Pack to the second issue, it was a big jump. I was starting to figure it out. The storytelling aspect of it, just figuring out what to draw. was really, really hard for me. I'm still trying to figure that out. And just drawing, period. Everything was hard. And I was very slow. So Carl, the editor on the book, had a lot of fill-ins. He really should have fired me, but he kept having different artists do fill-ins on the book. So that's what was going on with that. Then I can't remember at what point I finally decided to leave Power Pack as like the regular artist and just do. I was just going to do fill-ins for other books.
Okay.
Which I did quite a few of. And I started to finally get comfortable with comics and pick up speed. And then I took over Alpha Flight. I started drawing Alpha Flight, also for Carl Potts, a monthly book. At that point, I did that for a year, and I never missed a deadline. I can't say I'm terribly proud of the work I did on that, but I was at the point where I realized if I don't figure out how to produce and meet my deadlines, I need to get out and find something else to do. So I buckled down and I did it and figured out, started to figure out the storytelling. I remember asking Walt Simonson once how he could be so fast. And he said, well, I just know what not to draw. So I finally figured out what not to draw. And let's see, what else did I do at Marvel?
Were they giving you, at this point, when you're doing your trial by fire and learning on the job, they're doing Marvel-style storytelling, right?
Yeah, but this was Louise Simonson, and hers was Marvel style, but it was a more fleshed out Marvel style. She wasn't breaking things down panel by panel. Like now, everything is broken down panel by panel. But she did break it down page by page, which was a lot of writers would just say page 1 through 5.
Right.
Iron Man fights Submariner or something. So she did give me more to work with. And she was really good because there were times I look back at some of those first issues where I was drawing stuff where it was not clear what was happening. And she would prop me up when she would go to scripting.
So she was very helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Always available.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Really supportive, always available. And Carl Potts was the same way. I mean, he helped me a lot with the storytelling, the composition. He designed the alien spacecraft Friday.
Really?
That is a Carl Potts design, because I was just I think I was floundering around. I just didn't know what to do with something like that. He came up with the design for it.
So once you find your groove, get through Alpha Flight, you figured it out, what's the next stop?
I'm not sure about the chronology. I did do it was a 2-issue She-Hulk graphic novel. It was 2 graphic novels, She-Hulk graphic novels written by Dwayne McDuffie. Worked on Barbie comics for a while at Marvel. Did Barbie. And I did some fill-ins on New Mutants, on X Factor. Did 1 X-Men fill-in. Took the money, bought a horse. Maybe not the best investment, but...
What issue was it? Do you remember?
I can't remember the issue number.
Do you remember what happened?
Yeah, it was another story. I had no idea what I was doing. It was supposed to be like Road Warrior, and I don't think I'd even seen the Road Warrior movie at that time. So, yeah, once again, maybe not my best work.
But you got that X-Men money.
Yes, I did.
And a horse.
Yeah.
What was the horse's name?
The horse was named Freddie. Freddie, that was my first horse. So, but anyway, I went over and did some work for DC. I did a fill-in on Legion of Superheroes. That was when I did a 4-issue Supergirl miniseries written by Roger Stern and inked by Butch Jackson Geiss. So I did that, and that was great. It was fun. Got to draw Supergirl. Got to do this crazy thing where this company was hiring artists, creators to sign comic books, and I'm talking about like sign several thousand issues.
Oh, goodness.
Of your comic book. They would then sell on like Home Shopping Network and QVC.
Okay.
This was like early 90s, I guess, which that stuff was really huge then.
The collectability, the speculation.
Right, the speculation. That was when the collectibles market was really in full swing. they hired me. They picked me up in a limo, took me to this warehouse in New Jersey to have me sign the Supergirl miniseries. I think I signed like 3,000 of those
That's a lot of
in
Supergirl
one
comics.
day. $3 a pop.
Nice. You
And
buy another horse?
And that was like, no. I learned that one was enough. But I mean, there were guys signing even more, like $5, $10 a pop. But that was that crazy collectibles market.
But hey, at least the creators were getting a piece of
Oh
it.
yeah. We were getting a nice piece of
That's
it.
fantastic.
Yeah.
When did you start teaching?
I started teaching in 2005 at the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon Art in Dover, New Jersey. And the reason I started teaching there is I had met Kim DeMulder, who is a long-time instructor there. Met him at a comic book convention. We started talking about it. And I had thought about teaching before, but I wanted to teach what I did. I didn't want to teach Drawing 101 at the community college. Not that there's anything wrong
No.
with that. I just, wasn't really interested until I realized I could teach what I did. I also found out that you could teach there part-time and get health insurance.
No kidding.
And
That's huge.
in New York at that time, it was really huge. I mean, we've always paid for our own health insurance. The joys of being freelance.
Yay, freelance.
Yeah.
Yay, American
And
healthcare
at that
system.
point, man, and we were two healthy people, and it was so expensive.
Yeah.
So I was like, yes, sign me up. And God, met Joe Kubert. I mean, Joe Kubert was there at the school almost every day. It was a great experience. Once again, I'd never taught before. Joe just kind of shook my hand and said, go forth and teach. It was very different because it wasn't like at a college or university where you're on the quarter or semester system. So every 10 weeks or every 15 weeks, you get a new batch of students. You have the same batch of students the whole year. And some of them were a little rough around the edges, but they were all fun. And and there were some good artists that came out of that program, some really good artists. And I was every Tuesday. It was funny because the lunch break, all the instructors would meet like in a room and sit down and eat their lunches. And Joe would come and have lunch with us. And he also had a studio there. He was still teaching there, and he had a studio in the school. So after class, I'd like knock on the door and go in there and see what was on his drawing board and hang out with Joe Kubert. So.
Joe Kubert, yeah.
With the Joe Kubert, who was just great. He was a great guy. And all the instructors there were really nice. It was a fun bunch.
Did you make your own curriculum?
Kind of did.
Yeah, so it sounds
I mean,
like.
they had me teaching figure drawing. I think I'm trying to remember if I taught anything else. Seems like I might have taught some kind of class for one of it was a 3-year program. I taught figure drawing. They had an animation program at that time, too. It was mostly a figure drawing class. Seems like there was one other sort of drawing for sequential art class I taught. I can't remember if I even did a syllabus, to tell you the truth. I think he was just happy if I showed up. I probably wrote out some sort of syllabi and.
That sounds really fun. I'm going to be honest.
The grading system, nobody was turning anything in digitally, but I felt like it was a good program. I mean, it was professionals trying to prepare these kids to do professional work. It was all about, learning stuff so you could get out there and do it, get paid for it.
And how long were you at the Kubert School?
I think it was 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
2005, and then we moved back to Atlanta. I started there at Kubert School 2005, and then we moved back to Atlanta 2007.
Did you go to Savannah College of Art and Design immediately from there?
It was about, I started teaching at SCAD 2009.
Okay.
I was still working on finishing my bachelor's degree. I dropped out of college
Oh, so I
to
didn't know.
work
So
in
you
comics.
went back to finish.
I did. It was a great program through Empire State University. It was a division of the State University of New York, and it was designed for people who had a, almost finished their bachelor's degree, but not
They
quite.
got right there to it, and
Yeah,
then
so they took a ton of credits and transfer. I was able to kind of almost design my own program and was able to get a bachelor's degree, my MFA in sequential art. But I was still finishing that up when we first moved to Atlanta. So I wasn't able to start teaching at SCAD until 2009 when I had finished that.
so did you go back and get your degree because you wanted to keep teaching, or was
Yeah,
this? Yeah.
yeah, I did. I wanted to teach at the college level, and I found out. I found out about the program at SCAD through our friend Tom Lyle, who was teaching at Savannah at that point, and I realized that they had this whole program in sequential art. So that was why I went ahead and finished my bachelor's with State University of New York. And then when I was teaching at SCAD, I got my MFA in illustration from SCAD while I was teaching there. I went through the illustration program.
That is very impressive.
It is.
That's really cool.
I was teaching there part time. I was doing my MFA. Then we were doing Mary Worth,
Uh-huh.
and then I also got on Captain Ginger for a horror
Uh-huh.
comic. So it was quite the juggling act.
And you weren't sleeping, I am.
No, I wasn't, and I was, and this is when I'm like in my 50s. I was old. I didn't have very many brain cells left. So
Just a glutton for punishment.
yeah, but I mean the illustration program at SCAD was a great program, really good instructors, and I wish I had been able to put more time into it. But I did learn things that I still use now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, about digital stuff I would have never learned otherwise. And also it got me to experiment, step outside my comfort zone, try some things I would have never tried otherwise. So, yeah. It was all good.
And you're at Kennesaw State now?
Yes. Took a couple of years off from teaching and then started teaching at Kennesaw in 2020. 2020, yep.
Wow. 5 years.
5
So
years
right at the
there.
start of COVID.
Yeah, I know. Good timing. But it's worked out super well. They have a great program there. It's growing. I just teach part-time. I just teach 1 day a week. And, I've gotten some really good artists in my class. They've got good instructors. And it's growing. The program's definitely growing.
What course are you teaching now?
It's basically like it's sequential art one. It's sort of like an intro. I start out with a comic strip, and then the comic strip is expanded into a page. Then they get to do a Spider-Man assignment, which some of them are really excited about. Some of them are like, "Oh no, Spider-Man!" It's very funny, and then it ends up with like a memoir story.
I love that.
Yeah, I try to just introduce them to different kinds of narratives, some different formats. I do teach perspective in the class. I want them. Most of them kind of know perspective, but as far as like applying it,
Right.
they haven't had a lot of practice applying it. So yeah, it's just kind of a little of this and a little of that.
Are they
Let me
turning
try it.
you on to any kind of comics? 'Cause I
Oh,
know that
yeah.
like they're a lot of our teenagers aren't reading superheroes.
Oh no, there's really very little
Yeah.
interest. I just throw that at them because it's what I know.
Yeah.
And we are in America. It's still a big deal, and it's hard. I still think if you can draw superhero comics, you can draw just about anything. It gave me the skills that I've used to work in comics and outside of comics and all kinds of stuff.
And you have a
but-
very diverse portfolio beyond. Yeah.
I do, and that's something I try to stress too to my students. Take these skills and learn to adapt them to different things. Learn to pivot. But yeah, they turn me on at each class. The first class, I say, bring in some examples of the artists you like. They don't have to be comic book artists. You can bring in hard copy or email me links to websites. And there's been some really amazing artists that I would have never known of otherwise. And I also sometimes they'll do things and I'll be like, now is that something you see in manga? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, because now there's starting to be a blending
Yeah.
of Western, it's like East meets West.
A lot of the YA stuff is a very East meets West.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's really a cool part of it. And then vice versa. Almost every class, I'll bring in stuff from our original art from our collection. We've been collecting original comic book art for like 40 years
Yeah,
now.
your collection is amazing.
And a lot of them have never seen actual physical artwork.
Oh, they've
before.
only digital, yeah.
Right, right.
What is that like when they're seeing it for the first time?
They're always like, "What's that? What is that stuff?" I'm like, "That's whiteout." And then there'll be Zipatone, that's not done with a digital brush. They had to actually cut it out, and it's sticky, and you can put it down and cut out around stuff, or a paste up, and the hand lettering fascinates them too.
Yeah, that fascinates me. That fascinates everybody.
I
yeah.
know it is incredible. So yeah, and some of them I think are kind of bored by the artwork, but then some of them get out their cameras and start taking pictures of it. I love that.
You see like light bulbs going off on some of them.
Yeah, I think so. And it's important because also they're seeing the artwork, they're seeing the artist's hand, they're seeing the size it was originally done in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the difference between, seeing a piece of artwork reproduced in a book or going to an art gallery and seeing the original. It just has a different impact. Seeing, it's not shrunk down to 65% of the original size, so they can just, I think, see a lot more of the thought process and technique in the original art.
Tell me about Captain Ginger. How'd that come about?
That came about through Stuart Moore. He's a writer that I worked with for this company. Stuart's been around forever too, as an editor, as a writer, Marvel. I think mostly Marvel, maybe DC too. But he's had a long, storied career. But we worked together for a company called Tishkill Comics. That is a company that was based in Kuwait and published throughout the Middle East. And it was a line of comics. It was based on the publisher's love of American superhero comics. Their editor-in-chief was Marie Javins, who is now at kind of head honcho at one of the heads at DC.
Yeah, big deal.
Yeah, but at that time she was hired. I don't know how they found her, but she was like the editor-in-chief. Had hired Stuart and had hired me to do some artwork. And actually, Roy and I did a ton of artwork for this company. The publisher decided he really liked our stuff. And we did, for about 5 years, we did a lot of work for them. But I did some jobs that Stuart Moore wrote. And I guess he liked my work. And he had an idea for, I can't remember what came first, the idea for the comic or just the fact that I like drawing cats. But he had the idea for Captain Ginger, the cats in space. And we had done a job together where I had drawn where the characters go to like a cat rescue place, and there's cats everywhere. And he remembered that. So he contacted me with this idea for Captain Ginger and asked if I'd be interested. I did some designs, did some sample pages. Stuart has all kinds of connections, and he kept shopping it around, and there would be interest, but no takers.
Right.
Nibbles, but we couldn't get anybody on the hook. And then this new company, Ahoy Comics, came along, and they said, yeah, we'd like to publish it. So that was how Captain Ginger happened, and they pretty much gave us free reign. We did what we wanted to do with that book.
You seem like you're having a good time on that book.
I loved it. I loved Captain Ginger. Let's see, we did We did 10 issues, and then we did like a 2-issue follow-up to kind of wrap up some loose story ends. But I'd draw that again in a minute.
Any plans for more Captain Ginger?
Not right now. I mean,
Boo.
Stuart and I, we own it.
Yeah.
But not right, not at the moment. Although Stuart and I, he's so funny. Stuart's like, well, what else does June like to draw? She likes to draw cats. Oh, well, she likes to draw horses too. So he came to me with this idea for a horse book, or a book. It's not really a horse book. Well, it's a lot of horses in it, and it's sort of a young adult book, and it's called Pale, and it's going to be published by Mad Cave.
Oh, that's a cool publisher.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened. That was just serendipity. Last year, I was at Terrificon in Connecticut, and this very nice young man comes over to the table and starts talking to me, and he was a Power Pack fan, and it turns out he's an editor for Mad Cave.
Nice.
And he said, well, I'd love to work with you someday. And I said, well, funny you should ask. Funny you should say that, because Stuart Moore and I have this idea for this book. And we worked up a proposal, and he said, yeah, go ahead. So I'm just now starting on it, and it's going to be different because I am drawing, inking, and coloring it all myself.
Oh, have you done that before?
I have not.
First time.
First time, and it's like 115 pages.
Look at you pushing yourself.
Yeah, I don't know whose idea that was. But I'm just starting on it. So far, I'm loving it. Ask me again when I get to page 50.
Okay.
But I'm really loving it. It's an interesting story.
Yeah, what's it about?
It's about death.
Mm-hmm.
This is for young adults. The main character is a girl who is about 13 years old, and a horse who, the horses are in a sort of, not alternate universe, but a side universe. And the horses assist death. Death rides in on a horse. The horses, when people are about to cross over, Death picks a horse from the herd and rides to assist these people in crossing over to whatever is beyond the veil. And the horses absorb the person's memory, the person's pain. In return, the horses have a wonderful life in their world, which is called stable. They have all the fresh grass and hay and warm stalls and anything the horses can imagine. And the horses do have an imagination. Anything the horses can imagine, that's what they have. They don't walk on two legs. They don't talk. They communicate telepathically. And people in our world can't see them except for this one girl. So that's sort of the premise of it.
It's going to make me cry, isn't it?
It might.
Yeah.
It's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But Stuart's such a good writer, he can handle something like that very sensitively. And there is humor. There is humor in it as well. But it is a dark subject, but I think is a subject that has a lot of course, depth to it that people might not expect
Sure.
in a comic.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I am too.
What's the expected publication date?
I got to finish it first.
Sure.
It'll take me a year.
Okay.
I'm hoping parts of it will go fast, parts not so fast. It'll be 2027.
It's called Pale.
Pale. That's it.
That sounds really,
Pale.
really good.
As I get further along, I'll start, putting little snippets of it in my social media
Yeah, because you're on Instagram, you're
people.
all over.
Instagram and Facebook. And my Instagram is just work stuff. There's no
So I'm saying people can be excited.
no
Yeah.
cat pictures or pictures of food or anything like that.
How many cats do you have now?
I have 8.
I love your cats.
Oh God, you want some? I'll give you some.
No, thank you. I'll give you one of my kids. How about that? We'll trade a cat for a
Ooh,
kid.
Goodness.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, the cats I don't have to put through college. I don't have to buy them a car.
No, see,
worry
there
about
you
them having a
go.
wreck.
Yeah.
If they misbehave, I can just squirt them with water.
Yeah, or just drop them off at
And
animal,
they'll
whatever.
only hate me for a minute, and then I give them
Yeah.
canned food, and they love me again. It's very easy.
Dude, you know you're an amazing human being, right?
Aw,
Like, really and truly.
no, you're the amazing human being.
You're one of my favorite
This
people.
shop is what you've done with this shop, and what the shop's done for the community around here is just incredible.
Look, I never wanted to do retail for the sake of retail.
Yeah. Oh, this is so much more.
Yeah, I like stuff like this. Like, look, just the fact that like I know I got to meet you.
Aw.
Like you
Right
and
back
Roy are
at you.
great. And listen, thank you for this so much.
Well, thanks for having
hope
me.
we can do it again.
It's an honor. It's an
Oh.
honor.
Well, when you see Roy, let him know that we gotta get him in here next.
Okay. Okay. He's kind of a grumpy old man, but once you get him talking about comics, he's fine.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you, June.
Thank you, Chris.
God, see how awesome June is? We actually have a couple of pieces of June's art on display here at the shop. On one side of the store, there's this amazing Magneto piece she did for us. And then on the other side of the shop, we've got a published Power Pack page wherein the kids are facing down the Brood. It's a kick-ass page. Come down to the shop, have a look at both pieces, and do like I do. Just stare at them in awe for a couple hours at a time. All right, that does it for this episode. Come back next week when we'll be talking to Van Jensen. Yo, that dude has a hell of a story. How do you go from writing comics to writing for TV, show running a series, and even regularly talking to Ron Howard on the phone? Well, you'll have to come back next time to find out, won't you? Anywho, folks, thanks a lot. Find us on Instagram at Infinite Realities Comics. Check out our website, www.infiniterealitiescomics.com, or better yet, come see us here at the store. We like visitors. We want to see you. Until then, though, be safe out there, everyone.